Books of Time is a game where we will be collecting cards to form books and, we'll perform different actions, but ultimately you will want to score as many points as possible, and at the end of the game, the player with the most points wins the game. So, competitive game, it also comes with a solo variant that I tried, and the solo variant is almost identical to the multiplayer version, telling you that the multiplayer to start with is pretty much multiplayer solo. So we have 3 books. Each player has the same 3 books. Each book has 2 cardboard covers, 2 starting pages in it. And yes, these are actual mini binders that you can open and close. And, it's not particularly practical. You don't really need it. You could just have cards in front of you and simply work them like a book, use them like a book. Matter of fact, there was a game a couple of years ago, Yashima, that did precisely that. You had the functioning of cards as pages of a book without the binder. And again, my friend that I played with the things open, more convenient. I did close it and open it every time as intended. Why? I don't know. I did. So we're gonna have a stack of cards representing pages. As you can see, they come in the 3 flavors. We got science, trade, and light bulbs. I don't remember what that is called, but it's light bulbs. I'm not lying to you. At the beginning of the game, each player receives 6 of these. And you will choose one to immediately write into one of your books, like so, for example, also receiving an instant benefit. Each page has an instant benefit at the bottom. Then you choose 2 more to place on your personal board. The personal board is simply this strip of cardboard here. Again, each player has one. And the remaining 3 are discarded. Then you're gonna have an offer there of 4 pages face up, plus the deck itself is face up. So you're gonna have an offer of 5 cards to choose from. We also have a board here that has your own markers. So when you gain advantages, you can move your markers up, unlocking different kinds of rewards and usually ways of scoring during the game, which is pretty neat. If you reach the top, you also get an extra way of scoring points at the end of the game, which is neat also because that's the idea. You want to win. So each turn, you will have an action that you must take. You must take one of these actions. You also may take a Chronicle event. The Chronicle is this book up there that comes on its own lectern that you gotta build the first time you play the game. Oh, there you go. It's falling apart. This is the Chronicle, which is also your timer. That's why you place that bookmark there on top of the last 3 pages of the Chronicle as a reminder that when you reach that, there are only 3 pages left, and that means there are also 3 turns left, because or 3 rounds left. Each round, once every player took a turn, you flip the page, you start a new round, flip the page, and so on and so forth. So this is the round counter. We talked about the Chronicle event. So during your turn, you must take one of the basic actions, and you can also take one of the 2 Chronicle events, either of them, and you can take it before or after your main action. Again, when the Chronicle reaches the last page and we close it, that is when the game is over and you count points. And you do final scoring then. What are your basic actions, you ask? A great question. Love that question. So, you can activate pages on any of your books, meaning you choose any of your books and you can take the actions indicated here in the main box in either order. I can do this one and then this one, or vice versa. And once I've taken that action, I flip the page. And if it was the last page, I close the book and then I restarted that. So that's for activating the pages. So simply use the two actions that are visible at the present time on the book you're activating. Writing a page, so you choose a page from your offer, from your personal area here, and you pay the cost. The cost can be here pence. I know there's a more technical term, but that's what I call them. It can be paper, and then you also have folders and folders. Sometimes there are things that you need to spend a folder specifically, and sometimes you can also use the folder as a while to replace a pen tip or a piece of paper. As you can see, the cost goes down, and so actually later when you will acquire cards, you always add them to the left and slide them down so that the cost will go down. However, the cards don't move by themselves. Remember, we're talking about the action of writing a page. So if I decide to write this page, nothing moves around. I just write that page. I pay the cost, which right now would be so, because that's where the page was, and I add it to my corresponding book. Again, opening and closing the binder every time, as the good Lord intended when he created binders on the third day. So later, if I add more cards, then it would go like this. So yeah, you may have empty slots there. Now, opportunity cost. When I take the action of writing pages, I can write as many pages as I want and can, as long as I can afford them. So with a single action, I can write multiple pages. So there's an interesting way of trying to improve opportunity cost there. Closing a book. You simply close the book and you collect all of the rewards at the bottom of the pages. Remember, the bottom of the pages on the left of your current page. So the later you do that, the more of those you collect. Drawing is when you collect pages from the offer and you add them to your personal display, and you do that twice. So meaning with the action of drawing, you collect 2 cards. Advancing. Let's still talk about turning pages first. Turning pages, you look at your 3 books, and if you want, you can turn a page on any and all of them. Suppose that's the idea. After that, you collect the bottom benefits of the pages that are visible. That's it. You'll do that mainly, it's not particularly powerful, you'll do that mainly if you do want to turn the page, you're setting up maybe a certain scoring opportunity. Because there are certain patterns in your book, especially this one, if you can place these icons here in a specific pattern, that would be good. And so sometimes you want to turn the page to stick a page exactly in a specific location. Now that would be the time now to talk about the objectives here. Each player has 3 stacks of objective tiles, such as these ones, and they will allow you to score different things based on your books. At the end of the game, you will score the tile that is visible on top of your stack. So if this was the end of the game, I'll be scoring this tile or this tile or this tile. That is what the action of advancing objectives means, because it allows you to remove the top tile. So if this was the end of the game right now, I would be scoring this tile. And on top, you have the conditions on what it is that you're trying to score. So this stack here, for example, I scored the visible amount of points if my red book has 2 science or biology or pickle symbols and 2 of another symbol that are the same. So 2 pickles and 2 planets, or 2 pickles and 2 sticks with the snakes, that would work. Trade, that is when you need to have that sequence in that correct order. So ship, cart, and donkey. And here, with the light bulbs, I need 3 different symbols, or 4, and a heart, if that's how much I advanced my objectives. And when you take the action of advancing the objective, actually you can also advance on the civilization board. So basically, the action of advancing your objective, removing the top tile that I showed you, when the advance action, you can either do that or advance on the civilization board. The idea of using the advance action to advance the objectives, we haven't taken it very often because usually you can advance by using bonuses connected to other actions. It just doesn't seem very profitable as an action on its own. Summarizing. Activate your pages using the effects and turning the page, right page or collect pages first, close a book or turn the pages to activate the tiny advantages at the bottom of the page, or advance on the civilization board or one of your stacks of objectives. Continue like this until the end of the game. Collect points from all possible sources. Some you will have collected during the game. For example, this may give you 5 victory points. This will give you at the end of the game 2 victory points per page in your trade book, things like that. And the player with the highest score wins the game. As for the solo version, I can tell you what it is in a couple of seconds, really. There simply is, you still use the Chronicle book there, and you will notice that at the bottom, there are symbols there at the bottom of each page, and that is the solo thing, meaning that each turn, before you take your turn, the AI will collect some cards, will remove some cards from the offer. That's all it does. By the way, that also tells you, yes, when you play multiplayer, the only thing that players do that matters, that influences you, is that they may take certain cards. In the solo version, you can also spend folders to prevent a certain card that is dear to you from being captured by the automa. Also, in the solo, you have specific objectives that you need to complete, and if you don't, you lose victory points. But other than that, it's basically really the same multiplayer game in which you're always taking your turn. There are things that I liked about this game and things that I don't like, and I'm afraid the latter may outnumber the former. I played the game true solo against the AI, and I played it 2 players with a human friend, and I can't imagine the game being fun at 3 or 4. With 2 players, it was already slow enough, and it had already quite a bit of downtime. And sometimes I felt guilty because I knew I was creating the downtime. You can't really plan much ahead. Sometimes you can, sure. But say the first player, when you flip the page of the Chronicle, well, that's you don't know what those 2 effects are. Then you're considering which of those 2 effects do I want to use. They can be important. Am I going to use it before or after my main action? And which of these actions I'm going to take? Maybe you planned ahead, and again, you see those effects on the Chronicle. They're different from what you expected. They open new possibilities that you want to consider. Maybe the player right before me took the card that I needed, and so now I have to plan against my turn. So a lot of different options to plan at the beginning of your turn. Implementation can also feel pretty fiddly. Okay, I got these 2 actions, and this one gives me an advancement on the board that gives me a certain effect. Oh, gives me another advancement, but where do I spend that one? Oh, that one gives me 2 possible effects. Which ones am I gonna take? I'm back to like, wait, what was I doing? Oh yes, I was doing the first of my 2 actions. Now I'm gonna write that thing, which gives me an instant benefit, so I'm gonna perform that action. Sometimes I did find myself lost in the middle of a turn. I didn't exactly know where I was because there are all of these little things that you have to do. And thinking that I had to sit through 3 people doing the same, I can't imagine that. With 2 players, again, there was a little bit of downtime, but it wasn't too terrible. There are things that I like. For example, well, I like the idea of creating certain sets. Something that actually really found impressive, that there is a set collection element on your personal board. That strip of cardboard that you place your own cards on to write them into your books later. Some effects will be triggered by having some cards in that area or by discarding some cards in that area. So I like how the offer, the personal board, and the books got integrated, because it was very interesting to give value to all of those steps. I create a certain set, I use it, and maybe right after I use it, then I can write one of those pages. Those moments were really fun, but the build up to those could be a little annoying and complicated. There's a random element, some symbols that you need to score those objectives. There was a game I never saw one of the symbols that I needed. So right there, like 9, 11 points, I could not get. It was just impossible for me. I never saw that symbol. Had I seen it, maybe somebody else could have taken it. So there's a random element there for those objectives. And that's probably one of my least favorite elements of the game, those objectives. They feel like they're a lot of work, but people are going to do them because it's a good amount of points. But then try to advance them is so much work that I don't know if it's realistic or possible. Moreover, another thing, you have all of these moving parts. The game takes quite a bit to set up, especially the first time. Quite a bit to set up, to explain, to go through all of the actions. And once you start, again, it may feel too long because of all of the little moving parts. And then the overall architecture feels too short. Meaning that I go through all of these steps and I feel like, I don't know, I haven't done much. I have built some pages here, but I almost created a good situation here. I almost created a good scoring point here. Yeah, I did create a good scoring set here. But I felt that the end of the game came too fast. While this intermediate steps of the game felt too long. That's the paradox of time that happened here. Because again, I felt like I wanted to do more. I was just getting started with creating some overarching sets of things, and the game was over before it really became fulfilling and satisfying. The solo version, well, it takes care of a lot of those problems, no downtime, but there's still the problem at the end of the solo game. I felt like I moved a lot of components around and I didn't do much. I didn't feel a sense of accomplishment that I have when I play a solo Euro game and I'm building a scoring system, an engine, something like that, a tableau. Again, I had the problem that the game felt too short, but at least it didn't feel also too long when I was playing it solo. So I prefer the solo version, but realistically I don't know how often I'm going to play because of all of these other negatives that I mentioned, and this is my assessment of Books of Time.